Hey everyone, welcome to a deep dive into a book that's been, well, shaping thoughts for over a century now. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen.
It's amazing, right? Published in 1903, over 100 years ago, and it still feels so relevant today.
It really does, and you know what I find fascinating? It's this idea that our thoughts are crazy powerful.
Mhm.
Like they shape who we are, obviously, but also the world around us.
It's true, and that's exactly what we'll be exploring in this deep dive.
Because it begs the question, are we really in control of our thoughts, or are they the ones kind of steering us? You know?
Yeah, for sure, and I think that's what makes this book so powerful. It's not just some feel-good self-help stuff. James Allen really digs deep into how our thoughts actually create our reality.
He doesn't mess around, that's for sure.
No, he doesn't. And one of the best ways he explains it is through this metaphor of the mind being like a garden.
Oh, okay. I like where this is going.
So picture this for a second, all right? Like a garden that's totally neglected, it's not going to magically bloom with like perfect roses, right?
Yeah. It's going to be overrun with weeds, totally choked out. And Alan says our minds are the same way. If we don't tend to them, if we don't pay attention, they become totally choked with negative thoughts, just like those weeds.
Okay, so then what can we do?
Well, here's the amazing part. We get to choose what we plant in our minds.
So it's not just about like thinking happy thoughts all the time.
No, not at all. It's about being intentional, just like a gardener. They choose what to plant, what to nurture, what to weed out. We have that same power with our thoughts.
That's a really cool way to think about it. So what would you say are some of the weeds in our lives, the things that might be holding us back?
I mean, it's different for everyone, right?
Mhm.
But some common ones might be self-doubt or fear of failure, maybe negativity, holding on to grudges. Those are some pretty big weeds right
They
there.
really are. And on the flip side, what are some of the flowers and fruits, those positive, empowering thoughts that we want to be cultivating instead?
Those are the thoughts that make us feel strong and capable,
Yeah.
like believing in ourselves, trusting our intuition, focusing on gratitude, those kinds of things.
It's about shifting our focus from what's wrong to what's possible, right?
Exactly. And that's a really important point because Alan takes it a step further. He says we don't just attract what we want, we attract what we are.
Whoa. Okay, what does that even mean?
He's saying that our dominant thoughts, the ones we think most often, they have this way of shaping our reality. It's not just wishful thinking. It's about aligning our thoughts with our deepest desires and values, like really embodying them.
So it's not enough to just dream of a better life. We have to start thinking and acting like the person who already has that life.
Exactly. And he gives some really interesting examples in the book to illustrate this point. Like he talks about the difference between, say, someone who's struggling financially versus someone who's really thriving.
Okay, so what's the difference? Is it just about circumstance?
Well, Alan argues that it often comes down to their habitual thought patterns. Like if you're constantly focused on lack and limitation, always thinking about what you don't have, then guess what? Your reality is probably going to reflect that.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly. Our thoughts really do have that much power.
So, how do we break out of that cycle then? Like, if someone's stuck in that negative thought pattern, where do they even begin to shift it?
It's about consciously choosing to focus on what we want, even if it doesn't feel real yet. It's about cultivating an attitude of abundance and opportunity, even in the face of setbacks.
So, it's not about ignoring the challenges, but about choosing to see the potential for growth within those challenges.
Exactly. It's about realizing that we always have a choice in how we respond to whatever life throws our way.
And that's a really empowering thought in itself.
It's not easy, that's for sure. But that's where the real work begins. And Alan gives another great example in the book about employers, actually. He says that an employer who's always suspicious of their employees, always expecting the worst, they're actually more likely to bring that behavior out in their team.
Oh, that's interesting. So, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Exactly. Because our thoughts don't just impact us, they impact everyone around us too. It's like this ripple effect. So an employer who approaches their team with trust and respect, well, they're more likely to cultivate a culture of loyalty and integrity.
It's about creating that positive feedback loop, right? Where your thoughts and actions actually support the kind of reality you want to create.
Exactly. And that brings us to another really important point that Alan makes. It's not enough to just think positive thoughts. We need to align those thoughts with a clear vision for our lives.
Okay, so it's not enough to just like wish for a better future. We actually need to define what that better future looks like.
Exactly. What are your aspirations? What are your goals? What kind of impact do you want to make in the world?
It's about getting really clear on our why, isn't it?
Yes. And once you have that clarity, then you can start aligning your thoughts and actions with that vision. Because here's the thing, even when we have a clear vision, doubts and fears are going to pop up, right? That's just part of being human.
Oh, tell me about it. I think we've all been there.
But it's about not letting those doubts and fears derail us. It's about recognizing them, acknowledging them, but not letting them take control.
So it's not about pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about choosing how we respond to those challenges.
Exactly. It's about choosing to focus on solutions rather than getting bogged down in the problem.
Yeah.
And you know what? Alan says that sometimes those challenges we face, they actually become our greatest teachers.
Oh, I like that. So it's less about avoiding challenges, more about viewing them as opportunities for growth. It's about reframing our perspective.
Exactly. And he gives all these amazing examples of people throughout history who embodied this kind of thinking, who achieved incredible things because they refused to let limiting beliefs hold them back.
Like who?
Well, he talks about Christopher Columbus, for example. Imagine having the audacity to envision a world beyond the known horizons, even when everyone else thought you were crazy.
That takes some serious guts. And belief in yourself, right?
Absolutely. And then there's Copernicus, who completely revolutionized our understanding of the universe, but only by challenging the accepted beliefs of his time.
So it's about having the courage to question the status quo, to think differently. And you can't talk about the power of thought without mentioning Buddha.
Right. I mean, talk about someone who dedicated his life to understanding the mind. He really showed us the transformative power of our thoughts, how we can use them to overcome suffering, to find peace, to live more meaningful lives.
It's incredible, isn't it, to think that it all starts with a thought, that we have that same power within us.
We really do. And Alan doesn't just focus on these big historical figures, by the way. He also tells the story of just this ordinary young man living in poverty, but he has this dream of a better life.
Okay, what happens to him?
Well, he visualizes himself as a successful businessman. He sees it so clearly in his mind. But here's the key. He doesn't just stop at visualization. He backs it up with action.
So it's about aligning our thoughts with action. Our thoughts create the blueprint, but action brings it to life.
Exactly. He educates himself. He learns new skills. He seizes every opportunity that comes his way. And slowly but surely, he transforms that vision into his reality.
Wow, I love that story. It's such a powerful reminder that no matter where we're starting from, we have the power to create a better future for ourselves.
We really do. It all starts with our mindset. And Alan doesn't stop there. He also talks about the importance of cultivating serenity in our lives.
Serenity. Okay, I love the sound of that. Especially these days, right? Everyone's so stressed out, so busy all the time. What did Alan mean by that?
Well, he believed that true serenity isn't about living in a perfect bubble where nothing ever goes wrong. It's about learning to navigate those inevitable challenges with grace and composure. It's about finding that place of inner peace that can't be shaken by external circumstances.
So it's not about suppressing our emotions or pretending to be happy all the time. It's about learning to respond to whatever life throws our way in a way that fosters inner peace.
Exactly.
It's like we're learning to surf the waves of life, and instead of getting knocked down by every single one.
Exactly. It's a practice, just like anything else. And Alan actually considered it a mark of true wisdom and self-mastery, this ability to stay centered amidst the chaos.
So how do we actually cultivate that kind of serenity in our lives? Where do we even begin?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to awareness. Just starting to notice those moments when we get reactive, when fear takes over, or anger, or frustration, just noticing those thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Because we can't change what we're not aware of, right?
Exactly. So just start paying attention. What are the things that trigger those reactive states in you? Is it a certain person, a certain situation? Once you start to see the pattern, then you can start to choose a different response.
It's like we're training our minds to pause before reacting, to choose a more empowered response.
Exactly. And that takes practice. But the more we do it, the easier it becomes, and the more serenity we experience in our lives.
It's like building a muscle, right? The muscle of inner peace. So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into As a Man Thinketh, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is this idea that we really do have a choice. We're not just victims of circumstance. We're not just puppets of our thoughts. We have the power to choose differently.
And that's really empowering realization, isn't it?
It is. because it means that we have the power to create a reality that's more aligned with who we truly are and what we truly want in life.
It all starts with becoming aware of our thoughts and choosing them wisely.
Because, as James Allen so brilliantly put it all those years ago, as a man thinketh, so he is.
Words to live by, for sure.
Absolutely. So as you go about your week, pay attention to your thoughts. Are they serving you or are they sabotaging you? Are they leading you towards the life you want to create or are they holding you back?
And remember, every moment is a fresh start, a new opportunity to choose a more empowering thought.
So true. Well, on that note, we'll leave you to tend to the gardens of your minds. Until next time, keep cultivating those empowering thoughts, keep those aspirations high, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.